What's up, YouTube? This is Bystander X79, guys. Today I'm coming to my latest deck profile video for September 2021. And today, guys, we're looking at my updated Yosenju deck. Now, Yosenjus are an insane Beast Warrior deck. They can get multiple monsters on the field with just one normal summon. Furthermore, they're an amazing rank 4 and even a link engine, so you can extend it into the extra deck very easily with this particular deck. The deck has insane consistency, and thanks to a recent duel I had on Dueling Book, running one particular field spell in this deck that can actually deny your opponent additional resources. And before you get your feathers all ruffled, no, it's not Mystic Mine. This is a mine-free deck. This is actually in a different field spell, and it's a bit older one, but it can actually really hurt a lot of different meta decks. And I kind of leaned into that card with what it can actually do during the course of the duel. So, without further ado, we're going to be jumping right into this deck. As always, first and foremost, the monsters. We have 3 copies of Yosenju, comma 1. Now, all 3 commas have the same effect. On the normal summon, you can immediately normal summon an additional Yosenju monster with a different name from your hand to the field, which is just great. This is what gives the deck the ability to get multiple monsters on the board at once. All Yosenjus, if in the deck, that if they're normal summoned, are returned to the hand during the end phase, which is also very cool. And furthermore, if you control another Yosenju monster when comma 1 is on the field, you can target one of your opponent's monster and bounce it back to the hand. And that effect is going to be very necessary as we go through this deck. Now, moving on, we have 2 copies of Yosenju, comma 2, comma 2. We only run 2 because it doesn't really interact with your opponent's board, but it does interact with your opponent's life points. You can hop over your opponent's monsters and just attack their life points directly. All damage is half, but still, you know, anytime you inflict damage to your opponent, it is going to help out your deck, because we do want to have a comma 3 on board with comma 2, because whenever comma 2 inflicts damage, you're using comma 3's effect to search your deck for another Yosenju card to actually add to your hand. Last but not least, we are running 3 copies of Yosenju Instant. Instant is just an insane card. You can discard this card from your hand before you start summoning, and your opponent cannot respond to the summons of your Yosenju monsters, which is awesome. You can actually summon them for free without having to fear interruptions from your opponent. Also, if this card's on the field and you control another Yosenju monster that's on the field, you can actually draw an additional card. Moving forward, we have 2 copies of Yugioh and Lockbird. Yugioh and Lockbird is just an insane hand trap. It stops your opponent from searching for the rest of their turn, and that can be a lot more devastating than something like Ash, which only stops 1 search. This shuts down all the searches for the turn, so if they don't have the necessary spell extenders in their hands, they're pretty much porked for the rest of the turn, and their field's not going to be that very stunning. Next up, we have 2 copies of Nibiru, the Primal Being. Nibiru, in case your opponent does able to extend, your opponent summons 5 monsters, you can actually activate this card, tribute off your opponent's field, special summon a 3 KP stick to your side of the field, and give your opponent a very powerful token. This deck doesn't care about that token because there's multiple ways of getting that token off the field, so without having to attack over it. And the reason why we're running 2 is the same reason we run Yugioh and Lockbird 2. There's a particular card in this deck, and we don't want to be caught with that many monsters in their hand. So that's the reason why it's 2. And also Nibiru is searchable thanks to one particular card in the extra deck, excuse me. Moving forward, 1 copy of Card Demise. This card is just insane in any Yosenju deck. Low on cards in the hand, you draw until you have 3. Yes, you can't inflict battle damage to your opponent, and you have to discard your hand, but then again, you're probably going to be activating or setting a lot of the cards that are on the field regardless. So you don't have to worry about the discard effect. As well, because and the reason why you don't have to worry about the discard effect that much is because you can actually activate this card first during the end phase, and then resolve all your Yosenju monsters, so you don't have to worry about losing any of your monsters from your hand. Next up, we have 3 copies of Fire Formation Tenki. Just an amazing all-around great card for any Beast Warrior deck. Searches Beast Warrior on its activation and power boosts all Beast Warrior monsters on the field by 100 attack. Next up, we have 3 copies of Pot of Duality. Now, this is a personal preference choice. You can utilize Duality, or you can utilize Extravagance, or the new pot that came out early this year. I don't know why I keep forgetting that card's name, but the personal preference reason is I don't like giving up extra deck resources just to get a +1. I like to dig 3. This deck doesn't special summon all that often, and if you have to special summon, you just don't activate the card. 1 copy of Upstart Goblin. Draw a card, give your opponent 1,000 life points. This deck doesn't care if your opponent gets extra life points. And of course, we have 1 copy of Yosenju Training Ground. Now, this card, or if, let's say, Fire Formation Tenki gets hit on an upcoming ban list, like a lot of people are predicting, I would strongly suggest probably running at least more copies of Training Grounds. Training Grounds is essentially, Training Grounds to Yosenju is what Gateway of the Six is to the Six Samurai. It's just an amazing card that can get you resources out of your deck or your graveyard if a particular field spell's not up. You do that by removing 3 counters. This card gains counters for every summon of Yosenjus you have. Removing 1 counter, you power boosting all your Yosenju's monsters by 300 attack. And speaking of the field spell, we are running 3 copies of Necro Valley. This is the card that I've been alluding to. So many meta decks are very graveyard dependent, and getting Necro Valley on the field this basically denies them various power plays. And to go alongside Necro Valley, we have 1 copy of Terraforming and Metaverse. So it's almost like 5 copies of Necro Valley in your deck. Any monster card that's sent to the graveyard cannot be, or actually any card effect that would move a card in the graveyard to a different place is negated, which is just insane. So that it's not just monsters, it's also spells and traps. If your opponent requires to banish them, yeah, they're not going to be able to do that, and they're losing that ability to extend. So, yeah, it's just an amazing anti-meta card, and it just works so well with the rest of this deck. And the reason why I like running Necro Valley is basically because Necro Valley does have this one particular spell that's very powerful, and that's Royal Tribute. We're running 2 copies of that. You have Necro Valley on the field, you activate a Royal Tribute. Both players have to send all monsters in their hand to the graveyard. This is why we're running only 2 copies of Nibiru and Droll. Typically, you want to be running this card after you summon all your monsters, and if you catch your opponent on turn 1, you pretty much can actually put yourself in a position where they're not going to be able to do anything. Now, to help lean into the whole Necro Valley Royal Tribute, we are running 3 copies of Compulsory Evacuation Device alongside Comma 1's effect, so you're going to be able to pick off your opponent's monsters as they're being summoned. And just in case your opponent is able to get multiple monsters on the field and tries to swing at you, we have 3 copies of Storming Mirror Force to return those monsters back to your opponent's hand en masse. Lastly, we are running 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Just a great overall tech card for any deck to help shut down monster effects and stop your opponent from extending. That's the main deck. Moving into the extra deck, we have 1 copy of Abyss Dweller. Abyss Dweller just pairs insanely well with Necro Valley because it shuts down graveyard effects for the entire turn, something that Necro Valley can't do. We have 1 copy of Castell. Use 1 material to bounce a card off your opponent's field, very similar to Comma and Compulsory, or you can flip a monster face down, depending on what you need. We have 1 copy of Evil Swarm Exciton Knight. It's just a great rank 4 that can nuke the field and get your opponent's monsters into the graveyard. 1 copy of Gallant Granite to help search out your Nibiru. 1 copy of Tornado Dragon to deal with pesky back row. 1 copy of number 41, Baguska, the terribly tired Taper. Okay, is there for primarily for stall purposes. 1 copy of number 60 Dagaris the Timeless. Depending on what phases you give of your following turn, depends on what effects. You give up your draw phase, you get an additional draw. Give up your main phase, you can special summon a monster from your graveyard if you don't have Deck Rally up. You also have give up your battle phase for next turn, you can power boost one of your opponent's monsters. Moving forward, we have the Utopic Future package. Utopic Future, this works well with any non-number Xyz monsters. Utopic Future can basically steal monsters in battles. You don't take any damage, it's not destroyed by battle. And Utopic Draco Future can actually steal monsters. Future can only steal monsters to the end of the turn, while Draco Future steals monsters until that other monster you stole leaves the field. Moving forward, we have 1 copy of IP Masquerena. Just an all-around great generic link. Just helps you build into other links and gives that link monster a little bit extra protection with his quick effect. And of course, you can utilize the Nightmare package for that. Phoenix to destroy Batgirl, Cerberus to destroy monster, special summon monsters, and Unicorn to spin anything back to your opponent's deck. Or you can build into Boral Sword Dragon, which will be just even further insane. Because this card can just OTK your opponent, and if you have Dagaris, it gets even easier. And last but not least, we are running 1 copy of Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. This card can utilize one of your opponent's monsters as link material in conjunction with your own. You need 4 or more effect monsters to summon her, but once she's on the field, she negates any and all monster effects that are on the field for... it just negates, and she's just an amazing card to actually take care of problematic cards that are on your opponent's field, so you can actually play without being interrupted. Guys, that is it for my Yosenju deck profile for September 2021. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this on my channel, make sure to subscribe. Enable notifications so you don't miss any uploads, guys. Check out the description box below. Find the invite link to my Discord server. Join the conversation. We'd love to have you. Check out my affiliates, tcgplayer.com, as well as sidedeckversus.com. Great resources for any Yu-Gi-Oh player and a way to help support the channel. Follow me on social media. And guys, until next time, peace.